Amen.
Your heart good? Is your heart good today? I don't mean the way it's pumping, but your relationship with God. That's the point. God looks at the heart, and that's what he's concerned about. And our heart is full of joy for the Lord, right? This is the last lesson that we've been focusing on, the title of 300. And in the book of Judges, Gideon had many soldiers, and God looked down and saw the powerful warriors. But Gideon, remember the part of the story where Gideon was hiding in the caves and hiding his food so that the enemy would not find him. But God came and called him a powerful warrior. And Gideon thought that was so ironic that God would think of him in that light. But God looked at his heart, and God knew that he was a person that could do it, that he could build him up and support him to lead. So as God was with Gideon, he started to build his strength and became strong in the Lord. And after this, he was ready for battle. So now we get to the conclusion of this lesson. In Judges chapter 6 and 7, we'll focus on that. Gideon is called the fifth judge of Israel. In the book of Judges, there are stories before the story of Gideon of how Israel left God and how the other people came in and took them over. And now Gideon is the fifth person to become the judge over Israel, to try to build trust in the Lord. Several times Gideon would test the Lord because he was full of doubts and was not sure. So this is what we do too, right? And we become a Christian and still we have doubts. We're like, is God with us? And our uncertainties may lead us to fall back into sin. We may be tempted in various ways. And we think that since we've just become a Christian, maybe we shouldn't have doubts. But we do. We may become angry with the children or your spouse. And we think, well, Christians should have the fruit of the Spirit. And I'm not following that. And we say to God, I thought you were with me. And God assures us that he is with us, but that he is building us little by little, that the relationship with God will strengthen. It requires a lot of in-depth relationship with God. It can't be a surface relationship, but something that is truly from the depth of your heart. Now, Gideon had a big test. Gideon blew the trumpet and called Israel to him to amass a huge army. And 32,000 people responded to be the soldiers, and Gideon was very excited. But now let's read this verse. Go ahead. In Judges 7 verse 4 it says, Then the Lord said to Gideon, The people are still too many. Bring them down to the water, and I will test them for you there. God was going to test the soldiers. So what happened? The soldiers went down, and some bent over and drank the water by putting their head right down into the water and drinking it that way. And other soldiers leaned over and cupped the water in their hands and brought it to their mouth, keeping an eye out. But before that, what happened? some were too afraid to go to battle. How many thousand? 10,000 people. Reduced the number to 22,000. Started out with 32 and reduced it to 22. And now it's going to be reduced to 300 soldiers. God chose 300 to go to battle against thousands and thousands of the enemy army. Just a small group to fight against them. Remember, Gideon started out with 32,000, reduced to 22,300. The Lord said to Gideon, I will deliver you with the 300 men who lapped, who picked the water up in their hands and were kept alert. They didn't put their head straight down into the water to drink so that they were not aware of what was going on around them. Perhaps the enemy could have come up from behind them and shot them with the arrows or stabbed them with a sword. But those who remained alert by picking the water up in their hands were ready for the fight. So God picked those 300 men. Suppose you were in Gideon's shoes. You start out with 32,000 and you think how wonderful that is, and you're ready to go to battle. And you put them off into groups of 100. But now you're reduced to 300 and you only have 3 groups. It's like you wonder where all the people are. But God had told him that there were too many soldiers. I'm sure the 300 soldiers were looking at each other and like, is this all there is? And maybe they questioned Gideon's leadership. Some had become afraid and left. They were not ready for battle. The 300 that were ready for battle were the strong soldiers. Before, Israel was outnumbered 4-1. The enemy was so much bigger than there, and now that the number is reduced to 300, they're outnumbered 12-1. The odds have tripled. Can you imagine the feeling that they had? You know, you might be willing to fight all 4 people yourself, but if you have 12 people coming, they would surround you and you would be finished. The sword of the Lord and of Gideon. It's not only the sword of Gideon, it's both the Lord and Gideon together. That means we cannot do anything without the Lord. It's impossible to move ahead in life without the Lord. We need the Lord in our lives on a daily basis, in our family, in our work situation, as we're driving our cars, wherever we go, whatever we do. If we're talking to people about Jesus, we need to have the Lord with us. You may think that you have all the knowledge that's necessary to explain to people, but without the Lord, it's impossible. We need Him in our lives. So in the story, the 300 men who were chosen were in the camp. A soldier had a vision, and there was a loaf of wheat bread that rolled down the hill into the camp of the Midianites. A big loaf, and it destroyed. And this person woke up and thought, what does this mean? And it meant that God had answered the prayer.